Has it ever crossed your mind what would happen if Kamado Tanjiro was born with the Demon Slayer mark? Would he have a much better time mastering sun breathing? Could he have killed Muzan Kibutsuji in the first episode itself? Well, the answers to these questions aren't as straightforward as they seem, so let's try to break them down. Unlike his ancestor Yurichi Tsujikuni, Tanjiro was not born with his Demon Slayer mark. Instead, he had a scar on the top left of his forehead which initially looked more like a graze up until his fight with the hand demon. It finally takes a flame-like pattern in his battle against Upper 6 Gyutaro. Fun fact, Tanjiro's mark is precisely the same as Yurichi's, making his connection to the ultimate demon slayer apparent. This mark is capable of dramatically enhancing all of Tanjiro's natural abilities, including his strength, speed, and reflexes. It typically lasts for a very short time and causes extreme exhaustion to the body. We can already see how this is troublesome for an inexperienced Tanjiro. So let's dive into the kind of story we'd have if Tanjiro was born with the mark. Tanjiro was a poor coal burner supporting his family. He wasn't the type to leave his family in lieu of his tremendous physical abilities, so he wouldn't have any training or experience either. The mark would just sit there until Muzan killed his family and turned Nezuko into a demon. When Tanjiro gets attacked by Nezuko, things would be different. It's likely the mark would take partial effect here, allowing him to easily subdue Nezuko. Giyu would arrive and the two have a proper conversation following Tanjiro collapsing from exhaustion. Giyu would not recognize the mark because the information was lost to time, but directs the siblings to Urukadaki regardless. The teamwork between the Kamados would be significantly weaker and Nezuko would be more of a traditional support. Tanjiro would have an easier time passing the ex-Hashira's training and even split the boulder without Sabito's help. A key point is that his training period would be a maximum of 6 months at worst. At the final selection, Tanjiro would progress faster and kill the hand demon with minimal injuries. He would monetarily pass out, but continue onwards. He would be done here in around 2 days. The other contestants would be utterly surprised by his performance and news of this would reach Ubuyashiki. Tanjiro would meet Haganezuka soon afterwards, who instantly notices the mark and berates Tanjiro to show him the red blade ASAP. In Asakusa City, Muzan would be utterly horrified by Tanjiro as his mark is identical to Yurichi's and makes a fast retreat. A freaked out Muzan would hastily send Susamaru and Yahaba after the siblings, whom Tanjiro easily defeats with minimal help from Tamayo. Tamayo would recognize the mark as well and send confirmation to Ubuyashiki. Because of the news, the crow would instruct Tanjiro to head to Mount Natagumo, where Ubuyashiki would purposely send Hashira to retrieve the siblings. Tanjiro would meet Zenitsu and Inosuke along the way, but their relationships wouldn't be as strong. They would collectively fight the Spider Demon family, with Tanjiro making quicker work of his opponents. He would also save a lot of the Demon Slayers there. He would momentarily struggle in his fight against Rui, but after recalling the Hinokami Kagura, he would unlock the bright red Nichirin sword for the first time and successfully slay Rui, surprising the Hashira who arrive on the scene. The Hashira take the Kamado siblings to Ubuyashiki, where the Hashira meeting goes much smoother. Ubuyashiki would explain the siblings' importance and tell Tanjiro about his mark being special, nothing more. He would deem it improper to drop all the details on a child, because Tanjiro is still a boy lacking in experience. Instead, he would have him accompany Hashira on all missions. The rehabilitation at the Butterfly Mansion would progress faster too. Tanjiro's group would then be officially sent with Rengoku to investigate the Mugen train. The group would then fight Enmu, with Tanjiro awakening the red Nichirin when using the clear blue sky. A major change would be how Tanjiro manages to effectively support Rengoku against Akaza. Here, Rengoku would not die and they'd force Akaza to retreat, who was purposely sent after Tanjiro by Muzan. Tanjiro's group would head to the entertainment district with Tengen next. Tanjiro's enhanced senses would be able to narrow in on Daki faster, forcing Gyutaro out too. Tanjiro collapsing from exhaustion makes way for the Daki vs Nezuko fight too. Tengen, Inosuke, and Zenitsu would hold down the fort until Tanjiro reawakens, and finally take down the demon siblings. A paranoid Muzan sends Doma as well, but he arrives too late. Obanai brings everyone back to the headquarters, where Tanjiro has a dream about Sumiyoshi. He recognizes the mark on Yurichi and contemplates what it means in his sleep. He would recover in a matter of days, and head for the swordsmith village to get a new sword alongside Murichiro Tokito and Mitsuri Kanroji. Here, Tanjiro trains against the Yurichi Type 0 doll, recognizing its resemblance to the man in his dreams. Meanwhile, Muzan sends Gyoko and Hantengo to finish the job. During the fight, Tanjiro would use the Sunflower Thrust via a red Nichirin and experiences recurring memories of Yurichi. He uses the Sun Halo Dragon Head Dance, Clear Blue Sky, and Flame Dance against his foes. But as the exhaustion sets in, Nezuko is forced to step into the sun. Seeing her, Tanjiro breaks through the exhaustion and finishes the fight and collapses, seeing Nezuko conquering the sun. During the Hashira training arc, Tanjiro fully awakens his Demon Slayer mark and even passes Sanemi's course. In the Infinity Castle arc, Tanjiro plunges into the Infinity Castle with the Hashiras to defeat Muzan. They manage to immobilize Muzan and this fight goes much smoother too, but Tanjiro is still too far off from Yurichi's ability. difficulties. Tanjiro and Giyu soon find themselves battling Akaza. Tanjiro uses sun breathing quite exceptionally here, but the fight still drags on with Giyu performing more as a support. He takes his opponent on alone when Tanjiro collapses, and awakens his Demon Slayer mark in the process. After Tanjiro awakens, he uses the Settling Sun transformation technique to end Akaza. The Demon Slayers resume their fight against Muzan. Tanjiro gets affected by Muzan's poison and slowly starts to die, and his exhaustion from overusing the mark starts to kick in. Thanks to Yushira's medicine, he stands again and finally transcends the Hinokami Kagura into sun breathing. This fight goes much smoother as he successfully connects all 12 blows of the 13th form onto Muzan. With everyone else's help, Tanjiro pushes Muzan back in a mostly one-man show. After defeating Muzan, Tanjiro undergoes demonification. But thanks to Kanao's efforts and Yurichi appearing to Tanjiro one final time in his mind, thanking him and bidding him farewell, he reawakens as a human. Thus concludes this video on what would happen if Tanjiro was born with Demon Slayer mark. Did things go as you expected, or were you totally taken by surprise? And also, are you curious about what would happen if Akaza didn't become a demon? If so, then go check out this video right here to find out.